let's jump right into the health mystic. Where did you come up with that, and how long have you been doing it, and what is your vision for it? And then
So,
obviously introduce yourself, please.
okay. My name is Emily Laubile. I live in Michigan, and about 9 years ago, I really started to study Hatha Yoga, which is the most ancient form of yoga, which led me into Ayurveda and learning all about holistic healing modalities. And I became very involved with herbs. I love herbalism. I love Dr. Raymond Christopher, who is an incredible herbalist who saved countless lives, all due to plant medicine. And so that really opened my eyes to like the possibilities that we could have with our bodies and with our health, which unfortunately we're not really taught that. We're taught more of taking a pill for every ailment that we might have. And we're also taught not how to eat properly. There's amazing, delicious foods out there, but unfortunately, some of those foods hurt the insides of us. So, with all of my studying and learning about holistic health, it brought me to frequency therapy. And so, I mix in holistic health and then I give aura and resonance analysis with frequency. And so I'm a consultant for frequency now because I like to include all of the healing modalities into one. You can see all my books behind me are all healing modalities. So some people like to just choose one. Well, because we're all individual humans, it's nice to be able to offer everybody what they might need in that moment. So
That's amazing.
that led me to, thank you, that led me to creating Health Mystic. I don't consider myself as the health mystic. I think there's so many people out there sharing knowledge. So with Health Mystic, I'm bringing together knowledge of all different minds, of all different people, and sharing that just to give people a way to see that, like, it's hard for some people to research, and it took me a long time to figure out how to research. So I kind of make it easier on people by putting in information. So that's sort of how I came up with the Health Mystic brand.
I love that. That's amazing. It was a great way to start the show because I just wanted people to understand why I reached out to you and asked. I found her Telegram channel, and I just said, I'm just going to shoot my shot. Do you want to do an interview? I mean, your content's amazing. It's very uplifting. I like to go take reprieve in your channel for a while and consume some content before going back into the muck of all the other Telegram channels. So I really appreciated that. And then you responded very quickly, and I knew it was meant to be. So let's get right into you and your ascension journey, and kind of start off when you were a child. Did you have a strong connection to spirit? Were you kind of like a magician? Did you have a really strong imagination? Kind of take us through the beginning of your life and how you became the Emily Laubile of today.
So I did not have much of an imagination as a child. I had lots of toys, but I didn't play with them in the way that I observe other people doing that or other children. But something happened around 12 years old where I began to feel very intuitive and be able to give information to other people. And then some of that was based on a very close relative who is my aunt, my mother's sister, and she does spiritual classes and teaches people how to be in tune with their intuition. And I'm sure that she had something to do with that. But I began giving different kinds of readings for people. I guess that's what you would call them. You know, some people call them psychic readings, some people call them intuitive information or spiritual. I mean, so I've never done that for a living, but I've always really paid attention to that intuition. And if somebody wants the information, I give it to them. I ask for their permission. But, you know, just like simple things of telling different friends of mine who I didn't know if they were trying to get pregnant, but telling them, hey, I think you're pregnant, and finding out, yes, they were in fact pregnant. With what I do now with frequency, I also incorporate my intuition with the analysis that I give. So my upbringing, I mean, I really have been led to where I'm at now. And I searched for a very long time. Let me tell you, I searched for a long time, working lots of jobs that did not fulfill me. But I felt that this year, especially for 2020, you know, everyone has their different things for 2020. My 2020 vision was being very focused on not ignoring intuition. And I did, like 2 times, for very important things, because other people told me that I was wrong, but I ended up being correct about my intuition. So I've learned that through my childhood, through now, like I can't ignore it anymore. It's time to just be 100% with what I know and what I feel. And that, yeah, there might be doom and gloom on the outside of us, but it doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters is what's on the inside of us.
I believe that
Too
100%.
many of us are.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe that
Oh,
100%.
sorry.
And it's crazy that a lot of us, where we've always been searching, we've always been seeking that purpose, that destiny, something that's outside ourselves, that's as much ourselves. It's this, we had this inherent knowing and this inherent understanding that there's something more to this life than what we've been fed. You know what I mean? I feel like I didn't really get a fire for life until I joined the military. I really just, as a kid, I just made it through. And then and then in the military, I ramped up really hard. I want to do everything all the time, you know? And now coming into my 30s, I'm kind of coming into this where I'm in my 30s now. I'm settling down a little bit within myself. And now I don't feel like I'm having to chase as much. Like you said, I'm listening to my intuition more. It's becoming more, this ascension road is becoming a little more lonely, because the more you start to listen to yourself, the more you realize you don't need to listen to anyone else. And that is hard to kind of digest in the beginning, when your whole life you've always turned to mentors, you turn to your parents, you turn to all these people to help you get where you're trying to go, yet they kind of helped you get exactly where you didn't want to be. And now that you're listening to yourself, now that I'm listening to myself, now that a lot of us are listening to ourselves, man, it is just I'm taking off. And here's the other thing is I can't not listen to myself now. Like you said, you worked a bunch of different jobs. I wanted to work a bunch of different jobs to get to work, and then eventually did. And now I physically cannot do anything but what I'm doing. My body, my individual consciousnesses that you know contain within me, they won't let me go any other way anymore. There is no other path. This is it. It's follow your intuition, follow your gut, stop worrying about the material world, and that's when you'll realize that that's all BS. That's the illusion, and what's real is what's going on within. So when did you start doing yoga and really getting into breath work and getting into frequency work? Did you do that as a kid? And did you have a kind of like a separation from this before? Have you gone straight through the whole time? Like, I need this, I need this, I need this. Or did you have that little bit of darkness, that dark winter of the soul where you lost yourself for a little bit and you came back? I just want to get a kind of gauge on that.
I'm not sure if I lost myself. I am starting to, in my own frequency therapy usage, I've been peeling the layers, and I've been meaning like visualize an onion. Probably you get this, but for those out there, like if you're like an onion and you start peeling the layers of all the stuff around your body that you don't need, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. So when I was 20, I moved to Los Angeles, and then I moved to Arizona, and I lived out west for a while. But then I went to college, and then right after that I moved to Asia, and I lived in Thailand and in China for 6 months, and then came back, and I still traveled and lived in Chicago a year, and then I lived in Taiwan for 2 years. So I don't necessarily know if I was in a total darkness, but I was searching. I was searching, and I knew that I couldn't just stay where I was. And in Michigan, I needed to like see what I was supposed to be doing. So I was teaching English, I was traveling, I was meeting wonderful people, I met amazing friends, tasted amazing food, saw a beautiful countryside, totally put myself out of the comfort zone of the everyday thing. So I wouldn't say I had a trauma at that stage. I did when 9 years ago is when I started with yoga. And then I decided to stop eating meat. My teacher had asked us, well, while you're learning, maybe you could not eat meat, because that's part of the yoga practice of ahimsa, meaning non-violence to all beings. And it was interesting because I had already been working for 10 years prior of not eating meat. I wasn't eating meat in Asia. But there was like an occasion where I would, and then when I come home to visit, I'd have something, and I said, you know what, that's so interesting. I think this is the right moment. And so I haven't had meat in 9 years, and I don't miss it. You know, to each their own. If other people want to eat meat, it doesn't bother me. It's just part of my evolution. And so
I think that personally, I stopped eating meat. One, B wasn't agreeing with my body anymore. It was all, I think it was all the nitrates and all the hormones and all the crap in it was my fascia system was very sensitive, and then it just was jacking it up. But in reality, the reason I stopped eating meat is because I don't want to ingest the negative life force of a being that was tortured before dying. Like as soon as I really made that connection about we are all one consciousness, that everything has consciousness. And then I really watched those documentaries about how they treat these animals. And every animal I see God, every child I see God, every person, not every person anymore, because most people are like glazed over, and then I call them NPCs, non-player characters. But I still see that spark in them. I've seen that spark get lit up when I talk to them, when I look at them, because here it is so often we're talking to each other and we're not actually looking at one another. We're not actually dealing with each other, and people are just all the time. So I'm very intrigued about this living in Asia, because it's a completely different way of living. It's a completely different culture with different religions, especially being that you're a yoga instructor, and you got into the sound therapy and you're doing all these things. Tell us about Asia. Tell us about how that's changed your outlook on the world and on life, because it's not America. I'll tell you that much. And to me, when I was in Kuwait, when I was in the Middle East, that really opened my eyes to how good we have it over here, and also how much we take it for granted. So I'm really interested about your Asian living and how that culture changed you for the better or the worse.
definitely for the better, thankfully. And I met lots of women and friends there who were into yoga. So I wasn't a yoga teacher when I lived there. It just sort of happened on its own once I came back to Michigan. And so I was teaching English as a second language to kindergarten classes. And I want to focus on Taiwan, not so much China. I didn't love it. I didn't love the feeling I had. It was in Shanghai, and it was like a big city. I'm not a city person at all. I feel it's a great thing to know about yourself. I do much better when I'm surrounded by trees.
Yes.
So I live on 10 acres, all wooded all around us. So I'm definitely where I'm supposed to be right now. And so anyways, Shanghai was interesting. I met people there, but I did not feel good at all there. I felt dark, cold. It was cold. It felt gloomy. It was polluted. But there was wonderful people that I'll always remember. So I'll treasure that. Taiwan was just incredibly beautiful. And they have the Chinese culture behind like the original history, but the Taiwanese people are definitely different in the way that they think than the Chinese culture, I would say. Very open-minded and very welcoming and loving, and many people there. I always like to tell people, it's like we couldn't communicate when I first got there. I could not speak Chinese, but somehow we figured out what each other was saying. Nonverbal communication is more powerful than verbal. Mm-hmm. So that was very interesting. I hitchhiked for 4 days with a friend who convinced me. I met her in a bus station, a German woman who's one of my best friends now. This was, a long time ago. But she said, we are going to hitchhike. And I said, no, we're not. But we did. We hitchhiked through 2 mountain ranges of Taiwan. And it was an incredible experience. Very scary at first, but we just surrounded ourselves in a bubble of love and light, and we just figured, you know what, we're going to be safe, and we made that declaration. Everything's so much about intention, right?
Exactly. And so I love the spiritual stuff more than anything. I've been getting really, really deeper into this idea of the archangels, the idea of different consciousness, higher consciousnesses, and everything like that. I'm always going to be grounded as a human on earth. But the more that I reach into space, the more I reach into the higher consciousness, the more this makes sense. And the more I can disassociate myself from the human drama and bring in that human experience that can really become something that helps us evolve. And to me, my goal is to ascend in this life. I think it's possible. There's been over 2,500 cases of people getting rainbow body and just turning into light, and then and then ascending, you know what I mean? And they've, especially with the Ascension gates open now and with everything happening. So what is your opinion on what's happening on the planet right now in terms of the energy? You're big into frequencies. I want to get into that frequency modality because I've been using Solfeggio and binaural beats for the last 2 years to the point where it's helped my gray matter. It's helped me reconnect my hemispheres. It's helped me detox my pineal gland, my medulla oblongata, my pituitary gland. And because of that, I'm healing on a whole nother level. So I'm very interested in that. But I want to hear a little bit about the spiritual side of your journey. You just said, you know, a bubble of light and love, which is setting intentions. It's huge. Let's talk a little bit about the hippie foo-foo. You know, let's talk about, were you into that in the beginning when you were a kid, or did you kind of fall into it throughout your adventures?
I fell into it throughout my adventures, meeting different spiritual people. That woman I mentioned from Germany was very spiritual, and we were able to talk about that. I met another woman in my journeys of, this was in upstate New York, who gave me an EFT and Reiki treatment. And that was, I think we were together for 4 hours. I didn't even know that, like, you can do that without even, we lost time. Like, it was amazing. So different people have come into my life to help open me up to essentially what I'm supposed to be doing spiritually. It wasn't necessarily, like, I wasn't raised a religion. I have parents with 2 different backgrounds, and they told us that you can learn about everything, but everything is based on love and whatever you want to call God. And over time, I've decided that I don't call God God anymore. I call God the universe, out of respect for all humans, because I don't think that everyone needs to think how I think. So I like just using the term the universe, because we're all unique, right? And so what I don't like is the division, okay? Like, that's what's going on in the world. But let's just be honest, it's been going on since the beginning of time. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people are waking up now, which is amazing. But all this division has always been happening. The different colors of skin or the different religions, people have chosen to be separated from each other. And I fully know now is because that's how you control the masses. And maybe some people think that's crazy, but unfortunately, think about it. Like, why are people working 40 hours a week away from their families and they still don't have money? That's how you control the masses, right? Like, yep. So like, having these little points of recognition, like, okay, this is how things are, but it doesn't mean that it has to be how my life has to be or your life, right? We all get to have that choice. And so I've chosen that I'm not doing that. I have done it, and it does not make me feel good, and I don't want to feel bad. So I've made a lot of sacrifices to feel good. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely does. And so as you're going through these different countries and you're coming across all these different people and you're getting more in touch with your spirit, you're getting more in touch with your idea of the universe, being source, being God, being whatever you want to call it. That's why I use God a lot, because I'm trying to destigmatize all these words that have just become so triggering to everyone. And it's like, it's a word, bro, relax. And if it's a word that triggers you, then you need to go freaking dig that up, right? So the reason I come at people is very straight and direct is because there's plenty of people out there, you know, wiping bottoms and you know, wiping sniffles and stuff. And at some point, there's got to be people that come out and just be like, this is what's real. Like you just said, you know, I'm not choosing to agree with the division. I'm not choosing to want to say that the world is run by 100 families of 20,000 people that control 7.8 billion of us. You know what I'm saying? But the fact it's facts and it's truth. And it's a truth that resonates, and a truth that you've seen across the entire world. The reason you felt dark in that city was because it's a dark city. You know what I mean? I felt that way in Beverly Hills during one of the most beautiful blue days, right? It was in the summer. I was in Beverly Hills, and I was like, I want to get out of here because I feel I'm going to vomit because of how disgusting the energy is. You know what I'm saying? I was in, where else was I? Palo Alto. I've never seen more sad people in my life driving Mercedes and Bentleys I swear. So the energy you feel, that intuition you were talking about, is very important. And I bet you that intuition became very important to you as you traveled, because you had to trust it, because when you're in a place you don't know anything, you don't speak the language, you can't read the signs, you got to trust people to give you information. And they may not always give you the right information. I've had that happen to me where people that are so sinister, they'll tell you to go the wrong way on the subway in New York just because. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's that type of shit. So you're traveling all these countries, you're gaining access to more of your spirit, you're seeing all these different modalities play. When did you kind of start to fall in love with healing therapy in sound therapy, and talk us through a little bit about what that's all about and how you use it and how people can incorporate it in their lives today to help them?
Okay, so I love sound therapy, but I'm not referring to sound therapy. I don't have a lot of experience with that. Mine is more of using a portable frequency device. So it fits in the palm of your hand. And so it's another extension of my intuition. It's a device based on quantum physics, all of Nikola Tesla's teachings to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. Okay, those are just words. What does that mean? Here's a great example. Think of all the people that you've thought about in your life and the next day they called you. Why is that? It's because you were on the same frequency as them. How come something just appeared that you were just thinking about? Because you were vibrationally, your body is vibrating out what it might need or want, whether that's positive or negative. That always happens. And when we hear everyone talk about like the law of attraction, yes, the law of attraction is amazing and beautiful and important. But the law of vibration is really the first law because it's what you are giving out, that feeling. If you're not giving out that feeling, it's not going to come back to you, or it will come back to you if it's negative. Whether you plant any seed, it always comes back. So I got into frequency because when, let's see, it's been 5 years almost. I have 2 boys back to back. So my 2 boys, the second child was born with a genetic predisposition, and you asked me about trauma before. That's kind of when I really felt my first traumatic moment in my life. When someone tells you there's something wrong with your child, it's nothing anybody wants to hear. Okay.
Was he born yet, or was he still in utero when you found out?
He was born, and he was 5 weeks old when I found this information out. And I've come a long way. I used to never be able to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I kind of went into what I call an emotional coma. I just functioned. I took care of my children, I ate, and I showered, and that was it. And so it's funny to get emotional about this now because I haven't in a long time. What happened though was it was like literally a bolt of lightning. It was like, I'm done feeling like this. I am done feeling like this. I'm going to do everything I can to help him so I don't have to feel like this. So that's what I did. I had already had this amazing background in holistic health. I knew how I wanted to treat him. I knew that he could have a very healthy, normal life. I just needed the universe to guide me to find what I needed to help him. And that is exactly the journey
what was going on
I
with
started going on.
What's the genetic disposition and what's it do?
It's called cystic fibrosis.
My buddy had that growing up. Yeah.
Okay. It's very rare. It's like
explain it to people. Explain it to people what it is, for those people at home that really don't know what it is. Because being someone, I developed fibromyalgia, and I'm pretty sure I've had it my whole life. It's these inflammatory, energetic, chronic conditions are just they could be hellacious. So explain people what cystic fibrosis is, and it's a very I don't know if it's a life-threatening. It's always going to be life-threatening, but I don't know if it's as life-threatening as it was when my buddy was growing up. But I know that they say you don't really get that far. But my buddy's still kicking at 35, at 31, 32 now. So I don't know. We'll see. But explain to people what it is. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry. And I can share some wonderful resources for your friend if you ever want. I have an amazing network of people that help me and help him. So, excuse me. His main regimen is all herbs. I set out on frantically when that bolt of lightning hit me. That was fake, but it was like in a download bolt of lightning of information of like, this is what you need to do, start doing it. So I frantically started researching. I fired doctors that belittled me, and I told them no. I told them I'm not using these drugs that maybe they're supposed to help lungs, which I'll explain in 1 second, to, hurting another organ in his body. So cystic fibrosis affects the lungs and the digestive system. It can affect fertility as well. It's when, like, for people who don't have cystic fibrosis, we can expel mucus. Okay, well, their bodies tend to hold on to mucus. The lungs can get a coating of that in their lungs, can coat their intestinal lining, and then it also puts like mucus pockets. Sorry for that term, for those who, don't like gross terms, but it stops the pancreas from producing digestive enzymes, which we all need in order to digest food. Therefore, you take a supplemental enzyme, which is a pharmaceutical. There are natural ones out there. I found that they don't help my son to digest food, so we use the pharmaceutical kind, and that those allow him to gain weight. So in this journey of mine of finding everything, and I will say my child has a very healthy, very normal life. They say that they told us when he was born, like, oh, your child may only live to be 37. I think that's the year they give right now. And so I decided I'm not accepting that I'm not accepting anything that they say. I'll accept some information, and I take it as a suggestion only. That's what I do. I take it as a suggestion. I do my own research, because in my research, I have met wonderful people and wonderful adults with CF, and that's how we refer to it as CF. And they have shown me and told me what hasn't helped them and what has helped them. So that's led me to frequency therapy, which I'll get to in a minute. But with CF, it's not something you can ignore. You do have to pay attention to it. Just like anything, anybody that has an imbalance in their body, you don't ignore it. Now, here's the most important piece that I want to share with everyone out there. Just because you've been given a diagnosis or you're told that this is what your body does, the first thing that you have to never do is take on that label. I will never label my child and tell him, hey, this is what's wrong with you. This is what I tell him. I say, well, your body is different than my body. Your body needs these things, and my body needs these things. Mm-hmm. So, and that's how I educate him. I don't try to put in his mind that he has something wrong with him, because when you do that to yourself, guess what happens? You really have something wrong with you.
Co-create it, man. I mean, think about the placebo effect alone, and then the hypochondriacs out there that actually develop things that aren't actually there. That's the thing that blows my mind the most, is that this ability for people. I think I've had a little bit of hypochondrianism in my life. I'm thinking more so the emotional, because when you don't know what you don't know, you're in your own shit. You're just freaking out. You finally get an answer like, oh, you have this, you have that. And I remember when I finally got diagnosed with stuff, I was like, no. I was like, I'll figure it out. So how did your other son, was he the older one by a little bit? How has he been able to handle this with his brother, going through what his brother goes through? Has this helped him grow? Have you brought him in on the research and on the education of what CF is, how the body works and all that?
Well, he's only 6, and so my boys are 4 and 6. Okay. So we just focus on what does a body need? Yes, eating apples every day, drinking lots of water. I make their lunches for school. Like, I just try to make everything as natural and healthy as possible, and everything else is a treat. We don't eat McDonald's. They don't know what that is, because I know that's not going to serve them. It's not giving that. That's not a treat, actually, for someone if you do research. Yeah. It is, unfortunately. And it's really unfortunate that the things that are good for us cost more money. So I'm hoping that at some point that things that are good for us don't cost so much money for people out there.
100%.
And so my older son, I don't know if he's been necessarily affected too much. I mean, I kept him home with me. They both have never went to daycare. They've been with me for their entire babyhood, not another family member. So thankfully I've got to be with them. And I don't tell my older son, like, there's something wrong with your brother. We all know, like, oh, your brother just needs to take extra things.
That makes sense.
And that's okay.
You found this modality that you love, the sound therapy, sound healing, frequency therapy, frequency healing, through this research, try to help your son with CF. When did you discover it? Take us through kind of like your discovery of this potential thing, and why did it resonate with you as something that you think could really help him, and how does it help?
Okay, so first I will just tell everyone out there, I'm not making claims and I'm not treating, prescribing, or diagnosing anything to you. This is only our experience and only our story. And to clarify, it's not sound therapy, it's frequency, which is non-invasive. You can either do it with a microcurrent, which would be wearing a wristband and having the microcurrent go through your body, or I send long distance healings to people and to my son while they're at, both of them while they're at school. And it is, it does an analysis of the body. And what it does is it can pick up on energy blocks, things stuck in our consciousness and our subconsciousness, and help to cleanse the body of energy blocks, to cleanse our cells. Our cells can absolutely be full of toxins. We don't want our cells to be full of toxins. We want our cells to be able to absorb nutrients and rid themselves of toxins. And that's what I do with frequency. We use it to help the cell, like cell regeneration, cell rejuvenation, to heal at the cellular level. Any type of issue that somebody might be having, any imbalance, physically, mentally, emotionally, I can use this to do that analysis and then to offer it to somebody because it's portable. And I found this over the summertime. I've really gotten a hold for my son for his immune system. It's doing great. But his pancreas is what I really have felt very connected to waking up, because I believe that just because he has this genetic predisposition doesn't mean that I can't help his pancreas to wake up and function better, even beyond the herbs. And that's how the frequency came into my realm. I put it out there that I was ready for something else, and then it came into my realm. I guess it was last May that I added this in. And so I had already been, working in different entrepreneurial things, working as a holistic health practitioner, working as a yoga teacher, but I knew there was one more piece that I needed. And that's when, frequency came in my realm. And so I ignored it for a moment, and then it kept coming back to me. It was like, this is what you need for Lincoln, for my son. And I thought, okay, right, I'm not ignoring things anymore. I'm listening to my intuition. And so that took me down a path now of really honing in on how I can help people. But my main goal is to empower people to help themselves.
Yeah, boom. Yep.
Anyone can go to a doctor, right? Anybody can go. But it's up to us individually to do what we need to do. And I believe that what I'm doing, it can be in every home, and it can help somebody to use it and utilize it every single day to get their cells back to rejuvenation, to working properly, to healing.
I'm really interested in learning about the diagnostic ability, because I realized for me, I used frequency therapy already, because Solfeggio beats, that's all it is it uses different frequencies to create a binaural effect that actually helps with your brain. I'm big on a Hemisync. Hemisync helped me really help with my PTSD, helped me like really continue to clear the trauma from my mind, from my brain. I'm very big on that whole idea about we store so much in our cells, because in our DNA, our DNA, we're basically just computer code. It sounds crazy because we seem solid, but we're basically 99.9999999% space held together by dark matter, and which is basically made of electrons. That is what the God consciousness is. It's just electrons. It's the electrical energy of throughout the universe. And when we focus on what we want, we're focusing on creating it through the electrons. So what I'm very interested in is how you're able to diagnose on your son, even from a distance, you say, when there's an energy blockage? Kind of go into that, because I would like to know for myself how I can give myself a diagnose, like a diagnostics, whatever, and then be able to, oh, look right there, my sacral's blocked, or my heart's blocked. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm very body aware, to where, and even energy center aware, where I'm like, ooh, I could feel my throat a little bit. Like when you started talking, I seen other people, like when you started talking about your story, that your throat chakra closed, and you're like, you're trying to, like, I hear it in people. I can feel my chest close now. I can feel my solar plexus close. My root, my third eye and my crown, they're usually in my throat. They're usually always open, but it's the lower four that have been affecting me the most. So talk to us about being able to diagnose when there's an energy blockage, where that energy blockage is, and then take us through maybe some techniques you have of getting rid of those blockages.
So, I mean, as far as like, doing yoga and different breathing exercises, that always helps. And being with nature, I always recommend. Always get out in nature, even when it's cold out. Put a hat on, put a coat on, and go outside. As far as frequency is concerned, it's based on the idea of intention, right? So if you're completely closed off and you don't want any help, and you are like, nope, I got it, I'm fine, I can't necessarily help somebody. But if they're open to learning where they might have energy blocks, then I can take my device and I can do an analysis, and I always do it in the same order every time. And on top of that, I give my own energetic. It's like sometimes I look at the information like it's a some people use tarot cards, or some people read like astrology. There's different ways people read energy, right? So this reads someone's energy, but then I take it a step further and I read and I tell them like my own interpretation, because I get a flood. I definitely feel like a vessel or a channel, however you want to call it, due to like work, having this throughout my whole life. And now it's like finally being used in a way to help people more. So how this can help other people is that, number one, you can make a decision like, okay, I'm done living like this. I'm looking for something else, and I want something to come in my life. Because I feel like there's no such thing as a coincidence. If somebody happens to be watching this video at the right moment and they're hearing this information, it very well might be for them, because there's no such thing as a coincidence, they say, right? Everything is energy, everything is frequency, everything is vibration. All the plants outside has a frequency, has an energy and a vibration associated with it. So what you can do is you can have this in the comfort of your own home, and you can do your own analysis, and you can see what it says. And it's going to tell you this is what the recommendation is. And it's very simple. You run a program on yourself. And over time, if you're consistent with it, you will begin to see a change in yourself. Some people can feel it right away. Some people, it takes more time. Some people are totally closed off to it and it doesn't work, right? Some people are skeptical. I tend to focus on those that are open, because I'm not here to change anybody's minds. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm here to guide people to their own empowerment. And I really feel in my heart that this is a way to empower the masses. Empower the masses with their own health, that you don't have to necessarily leave your home to get a diagnosis in order to know what's wrong with you. Yes, sometimes that information is helpful, but the treatment doesn't always help. So I believe that healing at the root of the cause, and can help you to heal at whatever root you might have, whatever is underlining. And you might have colds all the time, okay? And you think, oh, my immune system is screwed up. Yes, but that's usually a symptom of what's happening in your gut. So what this can do is help focus on healing your intestines, healing your liver, healing your pancreas, cleansing your colon. Like, we need our digestive systems to work. If they're not working, that's where 99% of illness is coming from. So this frequency therapy can help to get anybody to a place where that they can function better. So that's why I implemented it in my household, because I knew that this was the next step for my son. We use essential oils, we use herbs, we use like he sleeps on a grounding blanket every night. We go outside in our bare feet when we can. We are surrounding ourselves with trees and clean air, as I mentioned before, and we are using all the ways to help heal ourselves. So maybe not everybody has that luxury, because it is a luxury in a way. Like, I feel like I couldn't live in a city. I would be very miserable in a city, and I see all the chaos happening in cities right now, and I just remind myself how thankful I am to not be in a city. And remember, if you do live in a city, you can get out, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody can have that choice. So frequency, portable frequency is in a way to, maybe you don't have access to all those other modalities, right? But this could be one that you could start with. And this could be one that helps you to peel the layers of the onion. You know, if I knew about this when I was a kid, this probably would have helped me with some of my own baggage that I've had, you know, but now it's clearing out of me. All of it is. Go ahead.
I agree, because I just, what I've realized is I'm big on going to the root as well. And I'm realizing that every root is basically emotional, spiritual trauma that we're still trying to heal from. I don't know if you believe in reincarnation. I don't know if you believe in ancestral trauma, but I think we bring a lot of stuff in with us. And I believe we also choose the lives we live. And I believe we choose the major health complications we have to deal with. I remember I was meditating one night, and I just asked my guides, I'm basically blind. You know, I had really bad eyes as a kid. I had to get 4 eye surgeries, and that made my vision's like 2400. I'm lucky I can even wear contacts. And I asked, I was like, why did I choose to be blind in this life? And they kind of came to me because you thought it'd be a good challenge. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's something I would say. But in reality, I look back. I look back and I go, that eye condition, my eye issue caused so many challenges, and it caused so much chaos in my life that I wouldn't be who I am without it. And I'm very grateful for it. And that's going to be the same thing for your son, because he had a mother and a father who supported him and who didn't make him feel marginalized. They showed him, like, yep, this is just life. This is your choice. You chose it to come into this life, and here we're going to help you deal with it. Just like my parents were able to help me deal with it. And it will end up being what actually helps him probably ascend, just like I think it helped me ascend. And so you're talking about being in the woods. I'm going to move away from the sound therapy a little bit. I want to get into a little bit of the human stuff. So you're in the woods of Michigan. Michigan's a crazy ass freaking state right now. Your governor is nuts. She's completely out of her mind. So what's it been like for you being being the health mystic, being someone who has studied for the last 10 years all about holistic health, who has a child that has breathing complications, that has all these issues. Now she's being told to put a freaking mask on her kid. You know, how have you been able to handle all of this? And did you know immediately it was BS, or did you was this part of your awakening too over the last year, say?
Well, a lot I've woken up to, but when I was working for a boss in 2002 or 2003, he opened my eyes to 9/11 and the fallacies around that. That's when my eyes were opened. And then I got rid of, I haven't had a TV in 13 years. And I realized that information is tampered with, and I don't need to hear it. So yeah, you might see all this craziness about our governor, but I can still go out and go do whatever I need to do. Like, it's all television show. It's fear, fear, fear. And I just ignore it. Okay, she wants to behave that way. Go ahead and behave that way. I'm not going to let it affect me. My child actually doesn't have any breathing issues. He's totally perfectly healthy and normal. And thank you. I'm so thankful. Every day I wake up with gratitude, and every night before I go to sleep, even if you are just thankful for your warm shower, a lot of people don't have warm showers out there. So
oh man,
it's like being thankful for the little things every day. So, I mean, there were times where, yeah, they told us stay home, and it wasn't that weird for me because I have been home with my boys for the last 6 years. 5 years, like 6. So
do you feel like you were almost prepared for this?
Like,
do you feel like you were almost
no.
set up for this type of time? Like, do you feel like you were almost like the universe was almost putting you in a place to be insulated for this craziness? because you were listening to the signs and synchronicities of the universe for the last decade. And now look, you're on 10 acres in Michigan in the forest, and you get to enjoy this crazy ass time where, like you said, there's people that don't have jobs. There's people that are living in apartment buildings that are 40 feet, 40 levels high. There's so, and I feel like for myself that the universe put me in such a wonderful place to ride out this storm, so to speak. So do you feel the same way in a way?
I never thought of it like that. And you're totally right. I mean, I've noticed like, saying to the universe over the last 10 years living in this house, like, thank you for allowing me to live here, And I didn't realize though that maybe I would be prepared. I mean, while everybody is kind of going nuts, I haven't really felt nuts. I felt like, well, we're safe at home. Thank goodness we're safe at home. That's what I feel like. And I'm not talking about safe from this virus. I'm talking about safe from chaos, from people acting in immoral ways. Safe from that.
That's the virus, in my opinion.
That's the virus. I totally agree.
Absolutely. So what made you start start your channel on Telegram? Were you on other platforms? Did you get kicked off? Did you get censored and banned or any of that stuff?
I voluntarily left Facebook and Instagram because they make me sick. I feel like they're fascist and they're exactly like the mainstream media. The mainstream media. I told you I got rid of my television. Well, I'm getting rid of that. I don't need to run a business on those platforms that belittle people, that censor people, and I'm standing by that. I am never going back to them. And they are horrible, unfortunately. They served a purpose for me, but it literally was making me sick trying to run a business using those platforms. And I'm like, enough is enough. I will find another way. And the universe said, here, try Telegram. And I was like, so I started researching how other people were using Telegram. And it led me to, okay, finally I could use the Health Mystic brand. Here we go. And so I let it flow. I just let it all flow. And I continue to do that. But I do not support Facebook. I do not support any of those platforms because they just want you to think a certain way. And many people are believing what they read. It is just, it's fiction, right? It's just what people want you to believe. I saw the movie 1984, but I had to stop. I never read the book, but I saw the movie and I had to stop at the scene of like the rats. I don't know if you've ever seen it or read the book, and I didn't want to see what's going to happen. Shut it off. And I really feel that now. So many people are in my life who are leaders, are followers right now. And I can't even be around it.
Nope.
It's like we are all entitled to be leaders, and we should all be leaders, not followers.
No, not at all. And that's what's so crazy about the Facebook for me. I would go on my Facebook and I literally feel sick to my stomach like you. And I ended up deleting like 1,300 friends off of it. I have like 200 people left and I'm using it for one thing left. And I'm already at this point. I went on there yesterday and I'm like, I don't even want to use it for this. Like I got rid of my Instagram. I deleted my Instagram. I got kicked off Instagram. I just stopped using Facebook because I felt that I started going through a really big energetic change at the end of 2019, going into 2020. That's where my PTSD like really took off, and I went into a PTSD program. Then I did a bunch of therapy throughout 2020, and I went on this healing journey. And I was the kind of person, man, I was out, I'm an entrepreneur myself. So I was out doing networking events all the time. I was going places all the time. I was hosting production shoots. I was doing all this stuff. And then I couldn't even pull myself out of my bed for basically a year. In 2020, I just said, I'm done. I need to heal. I need to stop. The world shut down. Everything went crazy. I remember I was at a podcasting expo when CNN started blasting COVID all over the freaking news. And I was like, oh my God, it's fake. Like immediately I was like, this is fucking fake. We knew something was going to happen. And here it is. I was like, oh, it'll be over in a couple of weeks. This is ridiculous. Fucking year later, look where we're at. I mean, so without going into details, because I'm pretty sure I'm shadow banned right now on YouTube. Like, and I'm still going to put up content on YouTube, but I'm definitely going to be moving it over to Rumble, I think, because what I'm realizing is YouTube, they demonetize you first and everything. I'm not monetized, right? Obviously. But what I realized is, how do I gain subscribers and go down in views? And it's because I started putting out these current energy reports talking about what's happening, but not details, not enough for them to flag me and get me kicked off, but enough for them to kind of shadow ban me off of the search. And here it is. I'm there with you. Without Facebook and without Instagram, which were the platforms I really understood. I spent years like really studying them from an entrepreneurial standpoint, how to grow a community and all that. Without that, now I don't really have anything to grow this channel with. I went to Telegram. I don't really know how to use it that well. I noticed you're using it. Your channel's awesome. There's so much engagement. I think that's the keys. You want to open it up for people to put their own messages, and you want to open it up for people to put their own content, because then you create that community feel. But what I'm at now is the universe is telling me, Adam, Ace, chill, relax. It's coming. It's all crazy right now. We don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you're trying to plan, you're trying to project. You don't know what's going on. You know why you don't know what's going on? Because you're not supposed to know. I'm the kind of guy that needs to know. I'm a planner. I did all this stuff, and now I'm learning how to flow. And man, I'm not very good at flowing because I need to know. And so what the universe has really put in front of me over the last year was a completely new way of being, where I don't need to know everything. I don't need to have a plan for everything. I don't need to have an outlook for everything. I don't need to have an opinion or an expectation or a judgment of everything either. I can literally just, like you said, put my intention up into the atmosphere, raise my vibration through gratitude, love, kindness, generosity, and all those things, hold it in my mind's eye, creating that frequency, and then pushing that vibration out, holding that frequency for a long enough time till it becomes my resonance, and then attracting through the quantum field, bringing into my reality what it is I need, because I'm listening to the signs and synchronicities of the universe, but also that voice in my head that people, am I talking to myself? You might be, but does that voice make you happy, or does that voice give you angry cat face? Because if it gives you angry cat face, it's your ego. So I want to give you the floor for the next 2-3 minutes to close it out. If you want to talk about your business, if you want to talk about cystic fibrosis, just give us a little send off. And I hope that we get to do this again, because this conversation was amazing, and you're an incredible human being. I'm so grateful that I got to connect with you. I'm so grateful I shot my shot and you emailed me back. So thank you so much. And any way I could support you moving forward, let me know. I really think that YouTube and podcasting is a great medium, especially now, to get your voice heard, to get your brand out there. So if that's something you're interested in, let's talk. But let's end it with your final say.
Thank you so much. I'm very thankful to be here too, Ace. It's nice to meet like-minded people. There's a lot of us out there. You just have to be open to meeting them and then receptive. And so what I'd like to leave everyone with this, the life that you have now can be changed in an instant. So how do you want it to change? Do you want it to be better, or do you want it to stay the same? Because you can have that choice. Staying the same, is that making you happy? Is that making you thrive? Is that helping you live to your full potential? Or would stepping out of your comfort zone stepping out of your comfort zone includes feeling better, right? A lot of people stay where they're at because they're afraid to feel better, because can be scary.
It can be.
So I just want to tell everybody out there, it's like, put your fear aside. Now you have the choice. You always have the choice. If you don't like how things are, if your health is compromised, then there's another way to feel better. There's another way to help your child if your child is suffering, or your parents, or your sibling. There is always a way. And I declared that I was not going to suffer watching my child suffer. And so he's not suffering, and I'm not suffering. And I had to see that light. I had to go through that. I had to feel those horrible feelings in order to feel empowered again, in order to get a voice, in order to share my knowledge with other people. And I share my knowledge with those who want to listen. I'm not here to convince anybody. And I used that word before because it's the truth. Like, everybody is entitled to make their own decisions. You are. It's just that, are you going to give them up to somebody else to make? And that's exactly what's going on in the world right now. People are giving up their right to think for themselves to other people. But I challenge you to be a critical thinker, research for yourself, know that there are ways of helping yourself, that you can get off those pills that are debilitating your body if you take something. You know, the third biggest killer, I don't know if it's still the same statistic, but the third biggest killer in the United States has been pharmaceutical drugs. What does that say, right? There's a root cause for everything. And so I am here as a person to help other people because I help myself first. So that's why I know I can help other people, because I've taken the time to help myself and continue to help myself. So just want to empower everybody out there that you can do the same. And I welcome you to join my community. Or if you want to learn more about aura analysis and resonance analysis, I'm happy to share that information. But it's up to the person, the individual, to make that choice, to make that declaration, and be like, don't make the decision in this life to make it the best life. Don't wait for the next one. Just make this your best life. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, it's great, Emily. Thank you so much. You're a natural. It was amazing. I'm so excited to learn more about your stuff and engage more on your Telegram, because I could learn a little something, because I've been trying to grow this Telegram and it's just not happening. So thank you so much for coming on, Emili Laubile. It has been such an honor to have you and to have you on the Ascension Files, episode 4. Let's do it again sometime. We'll talk more about the modalities, and we'll talk more about the spiritual stuff. But I really loved your story. You're a powerful, powerful woman, and I cannot wait to see what you're going to be doing the next decade, because it's time for us to lead. It's time for us to step up and to be the warriors of light that we are, because it's it. That's why we signed up for this life. That's why we signed up to go through what we went through. So I'm super proud of you. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you again very soon. Take care.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Good to see you.